Hey guys, it's John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. It is great to be with you guys tonight. Hopefully, you guys are having a wonderful evening. And I've got some amazing stuff to share with you. I'm sure you already know that. So, I am so grateful that you're here with me. We have another amazing evening. And I am happy to share with you that this is like, when I say amazing, it's absolutely amazing. So I want to thank you so much for being here. We have another great master topic, which we'll get to in just a second. Thank you for being here, whether you're here at 11:18 at night, 11:18 in the morning, 3 a.m., 3 p.m., or perhaps 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. I'm so grateful that you're here with me. Check out my hat, Believe Me Achieve. You'll get a second there.com. So that's Believe Me Achieve.com. And check out all my great creations there. I know you guys are going to love to do that. So definitely check all that great stuff out. Let's get into the master topic, shall we? So our whole master topic for the week is Our Life is Like Film, Series 3, Show 15. Series 3 means your third year. And the granular topic for tonight is Life's Cinematic Journey, Unveiling the Parallel Film in Existence, Series 3, Show 15, Episode number 2. So last night we talked a lot about film developing, right? The film developing, let's say, steps. And if we think about those steps that we talked about, it's like a recipe, isn't it? It's very similar to a recipe. And we talked about things like, the tools you need, basically, having the basic kit for black and white film developing, which is where you start. And you have to have a lot of room. You have the developing tank, obviously, which is a stainless steel tank. You have the reels. You have the chemistry, the fixtures, the things you need, the different chemicals. We talked about that. And the graduates, the measuring vessels are definitely required. The data tainer, photographic chemicals, storage bottles, film clips, thermometers, and the stopwatch or the timer. And what we were talking about, then we talked about light, how you can't really have light getting in your way. If you do, well, that could be a big problem. So there are lots of things, just like when you're baking a cake or anything, you have to make sure that the oven temperature is set correctly. You have to make sure that you put the ingredients in right, that you don't miss something, right? What happens if you miss? Like, let's say, for example, let's say you're making cookies. What happens if you forget to put, let's say, the baking soda in cookies? What happens? So, the baking soda will actually help the cookies rise, and it gives it the fluffy texture. Without baking soda, the cookies will be dense and flat and terrible. So if you forget to add baking soda to your cookies, don't panic. When baking cookies, just allow the cookies to sit in the oven, basically for a little while. And as you do that, before bringing them out, let them stay a little longer. And the vapor formed from heating will create enough impact for the cookies to rise despite the absence of the baking soda. So just a little trick, right? The result will not be the same as when baked with baking soda, but it's a better option for the batter without the baking soda. At least you did wait a little longer. So again, when baking cookies, allow the cookies to sit in the oven before bringing them out and let them stay a little longer, and the vapor formed from heating will create enough impact for the cookies to rise despite the absence. All right. So we talked about the fact that film developing is a very delicate process, right? So the steps, does everybody remember the steps to doing black and white film developing? Does anybody remember those steps? Anybody remember them? So they're not hard, but you have to remember them, okay? So basically, you have to spool the film. You have to mix the chemicals. You have to develop the film, and you have to dry the negatives. And it's a little bit of a process, right? So you spool the film, right? You get the film development kit for black and white photography. The film development kit comes with all the chemicals you need to develop your photos, and the kit comes with the development tank with the spiral loaded inside, so you can easily load and unload your film strips pretty easily. Remember, no light. It's got to be dark, right? Work in a room without visible light so your film doesn't get exposed, or that could be not good. And if your underdeveloped film comes in contact with light, then it could cloud your negatives, and that's going to look pretty terrible. So when we start, if you don't have a room that's light proof, you can also purchase a film changing bag that you can put in your supplies without exposing to light. And do not use a red light in your dark room. Even though it's seen in movies, it could affect how your film develops. Again, dark. So you're going to take like an opener to open the film top. Open the film with a bottle opener in the dark room. Make sure all the lights are out before you start doing this. Hold the film canister upside down so the flat edge faces up. Okay, so the flat edge faces up. Hold the edge of the bottle opener to the end of the film canister and pry the cap off. That's it. Okay, hold the edge of the bottle open to the edge of the film and pry the cap off. You can also use a film canister opener to access your film and whatnot. And so once you've done that, then you cut the end of the film with a pair of scissors. The leading end of the film is slightly narrower than the rest of it, and so you'll be okay there. Then what you'll start doing is you will start threading the film onto the reel, okay? Feed the film into slot on the film spiral, and the spiral will look like a large spool that sits inside the development tank. Pretty easy, right? And so you feed the film into the slot on the film spiral, and the spiral looks like a large spool that sits in the tank, as I was mentioning to you, and pretty easy. So you'll seal the film spiral in the development tank, and the development tank is light-proof container where you'll mix the developing chemicals. You'll set the spiral on the bottom of the tank so the film is on the side, and place the lid on the top of the tank and screw it on to secure it in place. Once the film is secure in the development tank, then you can turn the lights on again, and you're good to go to start the next process, where safety classes, of course, combine the developer solution and the water. Remember that when you're done, you're going to add the stop bath, or you can just add some warm water to stop it. Dilute the stop bath solution with the water, fixer solution, water, and then your mix water and the fixer solution. The developing solution, you have to remember everything is time sensitive. You pour the developer into the tank and agitate it for 10 seconds. Move the top part of the tank so your tank looks like a funnel. Slowly pour all the developer into the tank and press the lid back into place. Once it's sealed, agitate the tank by flipping it upside down and right side up again repeatedly for 10 seconds. The timing is very, very important. Agitate the solution once each minute until the film is developed. Pick up the tank and turn it upside down to mix the developer through the chamber. Agitate the tank every minute throughout the process so the film develops evenly. When there are 15 seconds left of your development time, pour the developer out. So, not terribly hard. Remember to take them out and to clip the film on the side. So what you're going to do is you're going to secure a wooden or plastic clip to the end and use it to gently tug the film, and your film should easily unravel from the spool. I mean, that's pretty easy. Hang the film 2 millimeters or 6.6 feet off the ground. Fasten the clip onto the hook or nail along with your film so it can hang, and make sure the film doesn't touch anything while it hangs, or else you could get dust on your negatives. Make sure the room you're using is clean and dust-free, since it could damage your negatives. Cut the negatives into smaller strips. And if you do not have the space to hang the full strip, because it does take a lot of space, you can run the squeegee tongs down the film to remove any water, and pinch the top of the film between the squeegee tongs and gently squeeze them together. Let the film dry for 4 hours. That's it. Now you're ready to go somewhere and have it develop for you. So we know that the process is very, very specific in how we develop film. We've learned this. And you guys still may not get how that works. It's perfectly okay. I just want you to understand that the process is very specific and it's very delicate. So this process is very important. The process that we use to develop film is very similar to the fact that our lives are delicate. So how we make a decision, how we respond in a situation or in a relationship. There are a lot of variables to, let's say, developing our life into what we want. And you might say, well, John, it's not hard. If you do it wrong, you just do it again. Yes, but what you can do, ladies and gentlemen, is you can ruin your reputation. So you have to be careful that when you choose to develop something, and that's what I'm going to call it, you understand time, okay? You understand emotions, which is encompassed through not just what we say, how we say it, and also the most important thing. Remember, the least important thing is what we say. It's how we say it is the most, let's say that's the second most important thing. And the very most important thing is body language. So there's a lot that goes into developing our communication with someone else. All right. When we think about the fragility and the beauty of our existence, we have the ability to do so many great things. But if we think for a moment, the fragileness of communication, okay? Fragileness in communication is not just, it's not a myth, it's a truth, okay? Short bursts of speech with disruptions in the flow can basically aggravate people. Communication that doesn't pay attention to someone else can also put someone else really at bay and can make them really angry. So it's always important that we understand how to communicate. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole thing about communication as we talked about that before, but just like we develop film every day, or we would be, when we communicate every day, we have to understand that that process needs to be followed. So, of course, we're not shaking ourselves back and forth, but we are still doing things like we're listening first, right? And we're not trying to rebuttal or interrupt somebody. We're listening to hear what they're saying. We're not listening to respond. We're listening to understand. Now, if we just get one part of the process wrong, like maybe eye contact is wrong, like I'm looking off in space and I should be looking at you, or maybe I'm looking at you too sternly, well, that could be a problem too. Or maybe I'm fiddling with my phone while I'm talking to you, or I'm just having my face in my phone. Well, that's going to really give me a great bad reputation. Maybe I'm interrupting you, or perhaps when I talk, I'm so involved with what I want, but I'm not concerned about you. We always said we have to talk in terms of the other person's interest. And Mr. Dale Carnegie taught us a long time ago that the two greatest things people like to hear, one is the sound of their name sound said properly. So make sure you learn somebody's name. They'll be more than happy to say it for you and repeat it so you can say it clearly. And the second thing is to talk in terms of the other person's interest. Now, that's not very hard. That just means that you're talking about things they enjoy and that they understand. If we're always talking from our angle, so for example, let's say I'm talking to somebody and I like to go, let's say, sailing, but they have no interest in sailing. Okay. But maybe I've learned that they don't like sailing, but I've learned that they love boating. So, gee, well, I always love boats. So I could talk about boats because they like boats, but they're not much into sailing. So you have to kind of reframe a little bit so you can get that person, as when we talk in terms of the other person's interest, their eyes perk up, right? They get excited. They want to pay attention to you, not because they have to, but because they want to. How many times have you had somebody talk to you like, oh, when's he going to finish? When's he ever going to be quiet? Like they just keep and that means that you are not properly communicating. Let me say that again. That means you're not properly communicating. You see, you have an agenda, and you shouldn't have an agenda. You might say, well, gee, John, I want to make sure the person likes me. Don't worry about them liking you. Respect them and listen, and then talk about things they're interested in, they will naturally gravitate toward you. Okay. If I'm developing film, for example, and I say, well, gee, I don't really care about light. I'm gonna wing it. It's real quick. It won't matter. I'm disrespecting the film process, and therefore I'm gonna have lousy film negatives. And so if I am always talking over someone, or if I am always talking to make myself more important, you know what happens? The person's like, oh, I can't wait till this person leaves. Now, they may not say it directly to your face because they want to be polite, but you can tell when somebody's not interested, right? So let's talk about that for a moment. How do you know when you're talking when someone is not interested in what you are saying? How do you know? Well, there are a lot of telltale signs, but I'm just going to give you a couple, all right? So they're not matching your energy, which you probably know that. They're not trying to get to know you. They're like looking at their watch, they're looking other places, their feet are pointing a different way. They're taking a while to respond. They aren't responding at all. Their texts are shorter than usual. You're the first person who texts. So if you're always the first person, then they're not initiating. That's a problem. It always has to be a two-way street. They don't listen to what you have to say. It's like they have their agenda. They don't want to meet in person. They just want to do everything online or via phone because they just don't want to waste their in-person time. The conversation doesn't flow, but you just try to push it. It's like trying to put a square peg through a round hole. It really doesn't work. They say they didn't see your message. And they don't just say it once, they say it often. They tell you either with their words or their actions. And so listen to how they communicate. That is really, really, really important. It's very key to recognize body language, to recognize signals. I bet you guys didn't know this. If someone is, let's say someone has their foot pointing toward you, they like you. Okay. So, and I'm not talking in terms of let's say a sexual relationship. I'm talking about foot pointing in just terms of any relationship. It could just be like platonic. And so if someone's feet are pointing towards you, they're attracted to you. They're interested in what you have to say. And if their feet are pointed at you, especially, let's say their dominant foot, maybe they're right-footed because they're right hand, that's a sign that they may be attracted to you or interested in your conversation. But feet pointed away at someone else or an exit indicates that they're just trying to get out and they're waiting for the first moment that they can. Feet are a telltale sign. Okay. Feet are great body language. Is there ever a time when foot pointing body language doesn't apply? This trick won't work if there's a crowd full of people where it's hard to move around. It just won't work because obviously it's not going to connect. So I think we have to know that communication is not something we just do for the spur of the moment. It's something we keep doing. And if there's not an ebb and a flow back and forth, and it doesn't feel natural, then either of us are trying to like push for the exit. So remember to say their name properly. Remember to ask if you don't know how to say their name. They'll be happy to say it for you and help you to pronounce it correctly. And talk in terms of the other person's interest. Don't talk about you. You're not important. Talk about them. Okay, so you might share something, but talk in terms of the other person's interest. Maybe you found out that they love to cook. So you could talk about the fact that, you know, you love cooking and maybe you cook with your grandmother or your relative or aunt or mother. So when we make, let's say, an effort to do that, it might seem a little bit hard, but then it naturally sticks there. And we don't have to keep forcing to do that. You want to talk in terms of the other person's interest. And then once you get on that track, it just sort of flows. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's been an amazing privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you this fantastic evening. Our life is like film, has so much more to unwind as we load the different types of film and we talk about the different things and the characteristics of film in our life. But know that developing a film is a process and it's very specific, just like communication is very specific, just like your feet pointing are very specific. When they're pointing at someone, they use your interest in the conversation or they're attracted to that person. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to catch you guys tomorrow. All right, everyone, take care and be well. And remember, specifics, just like in film developing, like a recipe, are really part of our life too. But when we naturally connect with somebody, we have the bond, it happens almost without us even thinking about it, like autonomously. Have a great night, everyone, and be well.